lift, but the fog will continue to hang over this NFC East as one of these teams will be pulling even with the Cowboys in the win column. I probably shouldn't say that. I thought about that a couple of weeks ago when the Eagles played the Bengals. I said maybe I should account for the possibility of a tie, and they tied that day. If there's another tie, I'm going to need a lot of help with the math in this division. But the simplest way to talk about this game is to assume that there's going to be a winner tonight, and that winner will have 2 wins, thus pulling even with the Dallas Cowboys in the win column in a division where everybody has a chance. And the Giants realized that, and in talking to Joe Judge yesterday, he said he told the players, yes, it's nice that we've been able to compete, to be in every game up until last week, but let's understand the difference between competing and actually winning the game like we did against Washington. We didn't make the critical mistakes. We didn't shoot ourselves in the foot. Now that they've got that feeling of actually winning, can they do it again and get themselves firmly in this race in the division in the NFC East? We shall see tonight.
All right, Mike, you mentioned simple math earlier. The Eagles, due to injuries, have dealt with subtraction. Is there any help on the way? Is there any addition helping on the way?
There is help on the way eventually. Now, look, they had hoped to get Alshon Jeffrey, their #1 wide receiver, back for this game, but he tweaked his calf as he's coming back from that foot issue, so now he's got a calf. The calf is the reason he's not playing this week. However, I'm told it's a minor strain, Nate, and they do hope that he can ramp himself up next week and be ready for the Cowboys. That's the expectation as we sit here right now. Now, the guys that are returning to the lineup, Deshaun Jackson and Lane Johnson, 2 guys that missed this past week's game. So they've had big hopes for Jackson, who looked good in the preseason. They just haven't been able to keep him healthy. And this has been a year plus now for them as they hope the return for Jackson was going to go better than it has. So we'll see if he can play tonight and finish the game. I mean, that's going to be the biggest key for Deshaun Jackson at this point. But this team's just got to hope that they can get healthy long enough that they can get all these bodies that are sidelined now to come back. And I'll give you a firm timeline on one. Zach Ertz, who suffered a high ankle sprain the other day. I know we talked about he was going to miss multiple games. The firm timeline that I am told is about 4 to 6 weeks for the return from this high ankle sprain. So he's going to be out this game against the Cowboys. Then they've got a bye, which is good. So after the bye, you're going to start to look for the potential return of Zach Ertz. But remember, this is a guy who during training camp, we all know he wants his contract, during training camp and some full padded practices, he said, I'm not feeling great. I'm going to sit out to the side. So I would imagine as he returns from this injury, he's going to want to look to be 100% before he gets back on the field.
We haven't seen Dallas Goedert since back in week 3. The injuries piling up. It looks like we'll see a lot of Old Dominion's finest, Travis Fulgham, as the marquee player in tonight's matchup in that fog. Mike, stick around here. You look great, by the way. Like the glasses, the suit. Thanks for being with us. Kyle, what would a win tonight mean for the Eagles?
It means the Eagles are right on track. Right on schedule, just like we talked about. I've given the state of the NFC East, and I'm not joking. I mean this completely earnestly. I think the Philadelphia Eagles can win this thing with 5 wins and a tie. 5, 10, and 1. But here's the problem. There's only 10 games left, which means they have to win 4 of them. So that's your roadmap right there. Tonight has to be one of them against the Giants. Because, you know, when you put your directions in the phone and you can't miss the first exit, your phone gets very pissed off. The whole thing stops. It has to recalibrate. It messes up the whole plan. Tonight has to be one of those wins. Because if they don't beat the Giants tonight, then they're going to have to beat the Saints. Or they're going to have to beat the Seahawks. This is the one they have to get. And I'm such a good guy. I've drafted the roadmap for the Eagles for the rest of the year. We all know how fans love to go through their team's schedule. The season starts, win, loss, win, loss. It always comes out to 10 and 6 every single time. Not this one. This is my path to 5, 10, and 1. You win tonight. You win a Cowboys team that is completely spinning and chasing its tail. Then it gets rough after the bye. I think the Giants get them again. Loss, 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 loss. I think they can get the Cardinals, lost to the Cowboys who are scrapping at the end of the season, win against Washington. That's it. Can you get 4 wins in 10 games? I really think they can. However, lose tonight, then it's 4 wins in 9 games. This is one of the most supple pieces of low-hanging fruit they're going to get on their schedule. The Giants in prime time. Win tonight. I think they can get to the playoffs. 5, 10, and 1. Lock it up.
Something to aspire to, right? But, you know, Kyle says that, and I don't think he's that far off. I think 5, 6, or 7 wins does get this division this year, and to me, a win tonight buys them a little time. As Mike Garafolo said to start the show, Zach Ertz is coming back eventually. Alshon Jeffrey is coming back eventually. Deshaun Jackson, we think, is going to be out there tonight, and we will see if Miles Sanders can return, if Goddard can return. The injury bug has hit the Eagles like no other team in the NFL, and it's now done it for 2 consecutive years. So to me, win tonight, stay above water, survive, and advance. Look at the offensive line they're going to be trotting out tonight. If Lane Johnson is on the field, which we thought he would be, and then who knows based on the injury history of this offensive line. But, you know, Peters down, Isaac Sinwalo down, Kelsey's been the one mainstay. Nate Herbert's been playing. Jack Driscoll down. We don't even see the, you know, what they were expecting to get from Dillard. He's not even out there. That's just the offensive line. It's everywhere for them. I'm watching this game last week, and it's Travis Fulgham who Kay mentioned, but it's also like Richard Rodgers, who I didn't realize was on the Eagles. It's John Hightower, who is a nice story out of Boise State. It's Boston Scott as their number 1. Like, you've got to just find a way to scrape one out tonight. I'm not looking for 45 points. I'm not looking for 25 points. Survive and advance until these guys get back. The bye week is in 2 weeks. Get to that bye week, and if you can get a couple W's along the way, that's great. But gosh, this is not the Eagles we expected to see.
I hear you on that, Schrags. Do you guys know who Cloak is? Dark Hawk, Booster Gold? Unless you're really into comic books, these are superheroes that people don't really know exist. Superheroes that don't get enough credit. That's Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is playing his butt off. If you look at the game last week, he was doing everything within his power. And if you're listening to Kyle, listen to Mike Garafolo, Peter Schrager with all the injuries, he's dealing with a lot and still out there willing his team and putting them in position to win games. I thought he was going to win this one. It seems like every time he got knocked down, and I don't mean that figuratively, I mean literally knocked down by multiple dudes, he got back up, dusted himself off, and he was making plays after that. What is the win going to do tonight? It's going to cut that Carson Wentz criticism because he's been receiving it despite being the Super Bowl champion. What have we been saying? Or what have people been saying? Oh, well, they need Foles. In order to win, they really got to go get Foles. Oh, well, Carson Wentz, he really isn't that much of a leader. We're not sure if guys follow him. Well, Carson Wentz is pretty good, but he does too much. He's a little banged up. Carson Wentz is playing his butt off this year. Go out there, win this game, and win it in grand fashion so people can stop talking that nonsense about Carson Wentz not being the guy.
Nate, I'll start right there. He's holding the ball longer than he ever has in his career, 2.8 seconds plus, thanks to our friends at Next Gen Stats. And sometimes I go, well, he's got to get rid of the ball quicker. But then he holds it, and then he makes a spectacular play, whether with his legs or with his legs to buy time for his arm. So he's just doing whatever he has to do at this point to get this team to succeed, to lift this team up. So what a win will do tonight is to get this team to look around and like Peter Schrager said, all of a sudden you look around these injuries, these guys are going to come back. These are not season-ending injuries. That's the silver lining to this stuff. So not only are they going to come back, there's enough time left in the season where you start to feel like maybe they could even get themselves back to 100%. And if that's the case, maybe for the first time since the first game of last season, Carson Wentz will look up and say, oh, I have my top 3 targets at receiver. Oh, I have both of my tight ends that I like to spray the ball around to.